Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multi-millionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too without experiencing the same obstacles they did. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. All right, hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski as always, and today we are joined by Konstantinos Kaloulis. He is from doodlevideo.com. He's a marketing strategist and a man after my own heart. We've had a few conversations with him, and he's always high energy. He's full of ideas, and he's someone that I really do see as a peer and an equal. I have a lot of respect for the work that he's done. If you even check out his own site, doodle-video.com, you'll see what I mean. He's got some awesome marketing assets he's created. He's had a ton of views. He's worked with some big names in the industry. He's able to provide a lot of value, and clients are always raving about what he's done. And it's an honor to be able to talk with him today. Konstantino, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, Daryl. Doing great, man. It's it's a pleasure and a privilege to be on this podcast, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. The feeling is always mutual. It's always an honor to be able to connect with just like-minded peers, because not everyone sees the world like we do. So now you've got a bit of an interesting story. So you weren't always, doing doodle videos and helping with marketing strategy and conversion and optimizing sales and campaigns and, and rubbing elbows with billionaires and large corporate CEOs and that. So how did you get started? What were you doing back in the day?
Daryl, it definitely is, like you said, it wasn't always, this great business-wise, and it wasn't always business. So, back in the days, I used to, promote a lot for clubs, be in the music scene and doing, partying a lot and having a little bit of more, living on the wilder side of life.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll just be real with people. Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. And, just when I was around 19 years old, we were hanging out, at this producer's mansion, and we were having a huge party with music, models, drinks and everything. And so I sat down there, and I was having a moment of personal reflection when I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, Konstantinos, you're 19 years old right now. You have, girls, money, friends, you're having a blast, you're having a great time. But the one thing that, really, stood out to me was a feeling of loss or of missing out. And while reflecting upon that feeling, I realized that what I really wanted was to, yes, obviously I wanted to have the money. I wanted to have, every man loves to have beautiful girls in his life, have the friends, have the fun. But what I really desired deep down inside, Daryl, was to obtain all of these things in a way that would, by being a great member of society, by creating something that a lot of people are going to benefit from, and by just doing great things that, influence and help out, many more people other than just, my greedy self. Right. So, that was definitely, so I realized I had to go on a new mission. And so I just, I stood up that day. I told everybody in that room, I'm like, hey guys, I have to go. And so I went back, to my place, and I got online. I started, researching. I started learning, met some great, business mentors, and it's just been, a path from that time, Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So, I'd have to, so before, as you said I'm doing the Doodle video thing right now, so it's going really great. We have become the world's #1 whiteboard video production and video advertising agency, doing, the funnels, the video sales letters, website explainer videos, rebranding, more 6, 7, 8, and 9-figure business leaders, marketers, best-selling authors, and brands in any video production company in history. So, it means we're doing something, good, and we're doing something right. But before that, I was essentially working with a lot of big brands in their own marketing, Europe's biggest educational franchise, Audi, Ducati, Royal Canin, and just, what have you. And so about 2.5 years ago, I decided to create Doodle Video. I started drawing out the videos myself. And here we are. Yeah. And, 2 years down the road, 2.5 years down the road, we're a 140 people company, and it's going good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, of course, it wasn't always like that. And it's not a straight or narrow line where you just start climbing. It's very rare. So what were some of the greatest challenges that you've had in your career and in building this company?
Okay, so my biggest challenge, I'd have to say was managing growth. So I had to transition. Yeah, I had to transition from being a one-man shop to building a team of quality professionals who could work, flexibly enough to handle rapid growth. So, sometimes when doing this, I'm looking for experienced professionals, but sometimes, we're also looking for that diamond in the rough.
Right.
So that person, right, that we're gonna grab him, we're gonna train him ourselves, we're gonna put our heart and soul and knowledge into that person, and he's gonna rise up and play the role and be that superstar part of the team that we need.
Right. Now, can you talk about that a little bit? Because I know that that's a really scary thing for a lot of people, like to go from doing everything themselves to, wait, now I got to split my salary but to bring somebody else on. And, and it's not always, they don't, right? And it's a scary thing. And hiring the wrong person is extremely expensive, and time and all that, all these other costs that come along with it. So can you maybe speak to that a little bit about, like, were any lessons that you learned in having to do that in the growth, and I don't know, just how did you manage that part? Because that's a scary thing, knowing who to hire. Like, I know a lot of people, they're like, yeah, but who do I hire? And they think they know, but oftentimes the people they hire are not the right people that they needed, and, or they hire the right person, but they have them doing the wrong thing. And can you maybe just speak to that a little bit? I just know some of our listeners might really benefit.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, so you said that a lot of people are worried they might hire the wrong person or make a mistake here and there. And just from my own experience, even where we are now, and from talks that I've had with other people, like you said before, even billionaires and people who are doing really big in business, there seems to, all of us are still making some mistakes when hiring people, right? So, I mean, my last mistake cost me, I think, around $120,000.
Right.
When I originally, and this was back in the day, right, with Doodle Video, when I had first started to, expand with my sales team, right? So we were spending all this money and we had all these leads and all these things going on. And then, we hired the wrong people for sales. They, it's a long story because these guys really, they stole some clients from us. They did some things that were a little bit shady. So we ended up losing, on some end, right? But once again, I think it's like this with everything in life, right? Even with friendships or, when meeting your special someone, girlfriend or boyfriend, it's not that you meet, one person and that person becomes your soulmate from the get-go. It's you're going to date several people, and at the end of the day, you're eventually, hopefully, going to find that one right person who's going to make up for all those wrong choices, right? And that person is going to make up for everything and be worth all that time spent. So I think it's the same, when hiring people in business. But obviously, when we're hiring people, we're going to be a little bit more strategic, right? So depending on the positions, that people want to hire for, so I definitely, so if we're hiring somebody for marketing or for lead generation or advertising or, even for project management, I always like to go through and make sure that they have a thorough understanding, right? I give them examinations, and I want to make sure, especially if we're hiring somebody for marketing, that they have proven results and not just theories and mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, that's so true. In fact, I was talking with someone the other day, and they're frustrated because they've got these, like, all these marketing degrees and MBA and all that, but they're having a hard time just being successful. And that's and it's funny because they had this conversation, and it was, they didn't realize, like, because I don't even know if the listeners know, but I didn't go to university. I was accepted into Queen's University, but I never actually went. And so it was funny because she was kind of like slandering a couple of people, just flatly slandering, like, I am educated and I'm XYZ, but it's like, but she was not getting any results, and, and she was really frustrated. And I was like, well, that's, when you're not in academia and you're, and you're quote unquote in the real world in business, like, all the knowledge in the world is great, but it's really about implementation. And I love what you said about when you related it to dating, because a lot of the times, even, like, this is kind of like a dirty little secret, but so much marketing fails. And people have no idea because they're not tracking the results. They're not, they're not really monitoring the performance of anything. They're just doing it and putting it out there and kind of hoping. And you know what I mean? And that's the same thing when you get a marketing promotion that really works and it's something that's done right and was set up right, like that it just pumps out like money. It pumps out leads and sales for you all night, all day. It is a worthy endeavor for the same thing that you said. Like when you find that person, it makes all the rest of it worthwhile. And that's, it really is. It's all about results in this industry. It's about figuring out what works, and it's a moving target too, right? It's never the same. It's never the same thing twice.
Oh, definitely. And, I think a lot of people who haven't yet spent a lot of money on marketing and they haven't spent, 6 figures or 7 figures on, building businesses and all that, because I was having another talk with someone else who just told me they spent 150,000, British pounds on, picking up all these courses for product launches and this and that. And it's, but they don't, I'm not going to go into if those things are valid or, if they work or not, because I'm not here to, go against what anybody else is doing. I'm just doing me. But a lot of people who haven't had that experience yet do not understand that it's not that you're going to create a landing page and a sales page and then put that ad out. And if it doesn't work out, you're a failure or your product sucks. That's definitely not what it means. Because the majority of campaigns that I see from marketers these days, right? And I, having the business that I do, I get to be involved and look behind the scenes into, anything from, your 50 new startups a day to your big 7, multiple 7-figure launches. Right. And the majority of things are not going to work out and make you the crazy amounts of money that people have envisioned of themselves making, right? But also, I would like to add one more thing to what we were talking about before about hiring the right people.
Sure. Please.
So, yeah, I think that a lot of people want to hire a person and they're not ready to do it yet because they don't understand the tasks and responsibilities that they need to assign that new person, but also B, right, they don't understand how to make the other person understand so they can do the job that's required. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes perfect sense. Because I'm guilty of doing that too, where I've hired someone and they're looking at me and I'm looking at them and like, well, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I hired you. You're the professional. So I've been there before and I know exactly what you're talking about. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that up because it's a 2-part process. It's knowing what you need people to do and then understanding. Because here's the other thing a lot of people don't even get. Like even if you're a doctor and you go work at a new hospital, you still have to learn the way they do things at that hospital. Right? You might be a doctor, but that just means you're qualified to do that type of work. Once you go somewhere, you have to figure out how do we do things here. So no, I'm glad you brought that up. How do you manage that?
Okay, so we have, there's a lot of positions, I think, in a business, and I like to divide, the types of employees into 2. So, the first group is, my board of, directors, call it out, my main group, right? My marketing director, my director of operations, the people, the top 4 to 6 people that are running the company by my side, right? The people that I personally have phone calls with and the people that I personally, mostly work with. And, for those people, it's definitely because when you're working, when I bring in someone that, has an experience, like I brought in an advertising guy a couple of weeks ago to work for me, and that guy has been spending like 10 million euros a year on Google AdWords alone, right? And he's been doing it for some of the world's biggest companies. He left his job and he came over, right? And so with him it's going to be different, right? Because what his tasks are, they require a lot more genius, a lot more work than simply being in the what is that called? I'm losing. I'm
okay.
I'm forgetting the assembly line, right?
Right.
So it's not an assembly line, right? You're bringing in someone who has a lot of value to bring, a lot of genius, and so with him, it's working, closer together, really explaining what we're looking for, get him tied into, the culture of the company, and also be there as a mutual friend and a partner, right? And share that relationship together. Versus, if we're going to hire someone to, list one of our new websites in 180 different, business listing directories, that's definitely a different position, right? And so those are, like I said before, I like to call it, the assembly line people, right? Not to put them down in any way, shape, or form, but that's just what it is.
Right.
And so for them, what we've done is we've actually created, PDFs and visual roadmaps that all these people can see that make it very easy for them to do their job. So we tell them what we need done, and then we give them, the materials. And so they can go through all that material and see like, okay, step one, go here. Step two, copy and paste this information here. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. And based on your experience, is that, what you guys are doing as well? Because I know you've had a lot of experience managing, a lot of high-end people as well.
Yeah, and I'm not. I know that my best role as a manager is to not manage, because I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a good manager myself. I'm a great marketer. I'm great with morale. I'm a great coach. But I'm not a good project manager in that sense of holding people to deadlines and that. But I've noticed that that's for sure. I mean, I'm a big fan of creating videos for people and a tutorial. No, I'm a huge fan of that, because you have to have like checklists. Like there's a book called Checklist Manifesto. That's a great one. It talks about how even pilots, like, it'd be insane for them to try and take off without a checklist. That's why they implement it. It's not because pilots are dumb. It's not because of anything like that. It's just like you said, it's not because there's like, I guess where you're going with this is the two groups is one is like people who are doing things that can be documented and outlined, and then other people who have more creative work that's expertise driven, that's knowledge driven. And that's it. And, it's not because a pilot is an idiot, but it's because there's just so many things that have to go through, like they need you need a checklist to make sure everything's been done. And it's just because we're humans. We get distracted. We're dilatory. We've got other things in our mind. So no, I think that's any business. That's even that book, The E-Myth. You talk about having that. But I just like how you broke it into two groups. And am I right? Because you described the one group, the assembly line people, and the other one, what do you call them?
Well, I just call them, they're my main team, because like here's the thing, right? As far as having, people, I don't believe in, calling them people who work for me. Right. Everybody's somebody who works with me, and, we're a team. So, but one thing I do manage to do a lot, and I've been doing this repeatedly over and over again, whenever I bring someone into that, higher level part of the team, I always make sure that I find, one guy who's one of the utmost experts in that field that I'm needing, right? Because I don't want to make sure that team expands too much. I want it to be, 4 to 6, maximum 7 people.
Got it.
And, so because if we do it like that, at the end of the day, each of these people, right, they manage one specific department. And then that's when I can come in at the end of the day and talk to each one of these people for an hour, right, and see how everything's progressing. And then I know that they have what it takes to manage everybody under them and then keep the business going the way that it needs to be gone.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it goes back into, not being a slave to your business, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's the huge thing, and that's because I think that really inhibits a lot of businesses from growing, because you as the owner, you don't scale, right? Like you're one person, there's only so many hours in the day, and you can't do everything, and everyone, a lot of people, that's how they start out, and that's fine. That's how, like I'm really much the champion of the startup entrepreneur, because we need those people to create new things. I've created tons of new things, and it's hard. It's a lot of hours, a lot of drive, and you do everything, but you're not an expert, and you're not proficient at everything, and so in some ways you actually hold your company back, and it's important that you replace yourself. So no, that's helpful. I mean, you provide some good insight. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter. You're going to make mistakes in the end, and it's going to cost you money. And the best thing you can do is just, hire. I guess they say, hire slow, fire fast, and just acknowledge that you're going to make mistakes. And this might be premature, but you shared some advice with me earlier, and I think this is a perfect time to do it, because you're saying one of your mentors gave you one of the best pieces of advice you've ever gotten. And can you just share that with everyone? I better from your lips than my own.
Yeah. So yeah, just like we were saying before, man, so I have one of my, business partners and investors. He makes a lot of money, $1 billion. And so he's a little bit, personally, I'm an entrepreneur that loves to look at the positive of life, the positive of every service, every product, of every launch. And I'm the guy who gets excited, goes in there with a rush, and gets things done in a positive manner. I always like to see the best in people, but, my business partner has been, so when we met, maybe I think it was 6 months ago, he came to me And he told me, because at the time I had, I had a couple of big deals that were going on. One was for getting, 5% equity in a company going global with many, many huge global investors. And the other one was a 2 million euro real estate deal. So, I went to him and I talked to him about it. And he told me, he's like, hey, Konstantinos, no matter, in any deal that comes your way, no matter how many gems you see, no matter how excited you are, no matter how much the money is, always, always hold back and think to yourself, right? Analyze the whole picture, the picture right now, and the possibility of what that picture can look like in 3, 6, 9, or 12 months down the road. And look at what ways you can personally lose out from doing this deal. I have, especially for people who might just be starting out, I'm not sure how relevant this is going to be. But I mean, for me, when you're looking at big deals and in deals that, if you say yes, you're going to be committed into something for the next 12 or 24 months. Yeah. I definitely think it's worth taking the time, and it's a necessity to take the time to see, okay, how could I lose if partner A doesn't do this or does this?
Yeah, no, I know. I remember one of the first 5-figure deals that I closed in a big 5-figure deal. I remember exactly that. I was so excited, and it worked out in the end, but we did end up having to renegotiate halfway through because I didn't realize how short-sighted I had been. I was so just caught up that I was doing like a big business deal, and I can't believe this happened. Because you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You're like, oh my God, you want to call everybody up, like you're screaming, you can't believe it's happening. But exactly.
Yeah, and you start calling them up before you even receive the big funds, or
you're like, we're gonna jump in on this, we're gonna get this done right now. Like you're so excited and motivated, and and it's fun. But I love it because it's that word of caution, and it's the word of the wise. Where hey, if you've been here around the block, a few times, you know that it looks really good, but there's, what is it, the devil you know and the devil you don't know. You got to be careful for that devil you don't know, and you got to take a look and just be aware. And it doesn't mean that you're a naysayer. And I know that's hard for us because I know even with, even if you're not a startup, even if if you have an existing business, you're looking to expand or take on a new project or, again, even hire somebody. And you're just really jazzed and excited about them, you have to be willing to look at what the negatives could be. And some of us, we hate that because we're like, no, the power of positive thinking, and you attract what you think. And it's like, yeah, but there's also a real side to life, and you have to be objective, and you have to look at the deal. And so, no, that's really good. That's really sound advice. And I just hope some of our listeners heed it, and I hope I do too myself, because I know how easy it is to get caught up into stuff. So I'm the same as you.
Too, man.
I'm the same as you. I got involved in a couple of charity projects. One was like for this movie, and anyway, it's just a really positive movie and a great thing, and I really want to do well, but I didn't realize, and it wasn't anything that they did, but I was just like, for me, it was stretching myself too thin. It was exactly like you said, not thinking about, well, geez, I got this other thing that's going to be happening in 2 months, and what happens when that comes. Anyway, it's just planning, just being aware of it. So that's awesome. So what are some of the things that you felt were holding you back as you got, like you said, managing the growth? Now, why was it managing the growth? I mean, what have been some of the biggest challenges for you guys in growing?
Okay, so I mean, managing the growth, I have to say it's more because I was, so I was used to doing the deals myself because I was a marketing consultant and strategist. Right. For, because that's what I did, right? I went inside, I got the big deals. I mean, even now, it's very common for me to close, $20, $30, $50,000 deals, and it's nothing big. So, but I mean, in growing the team there, I started to see it more, two things I'd have to say. So I had to start seeing it more as a family, and that, even when something goes wrong, I can't just get angry. But I actually have to come in and, look at, be more strategic about it. Be like, okay, X is not working out. What are the causes for X not working out? And, when you start to look at, an X, right? Why is X not working out? And you find one reason, eventually, right, that's going to lead into way more reasons why that one thing isn't working out, right? So more problems are going to arise. So, but I just think it's about, finding the problems and fixing the problems strategically. So That's definitely it. But then
I love what you said. No, finding the problem and then fixing the problem strategically. I think that's a great, great, great answer. Because half the time people don't know what the problem is that they have, and they're just complaining about the symptom.
And Daryl, but like, look at this, man. It's like a lot of people, they come to me for one reason, right? Because I have consistently created whatever I've launched has become number one on the global marketplace or in the local marketplace, right? As was the example when I was living in Spain with my consulting gigs. But, so I think a lot of people, it's not so much, because if you're at the place where, because as we said before, a lot of people don't understand, that not all marketing is going to work, or a lot of people, don't get to the real point where they're at a position to have all these employees and start really looking at things, small things that they can do to make a difference. And, a lot of people, I think, make a big mistake before they even start and choosing the wrong activity or the wrong type of business. So, that's definitely, that's been one of the main focuses, areas of focus, in my life, not just in business, right? But it's always, so don't compromise on your dreams and don't look for the quick money. Right? Because a lot of people, and no, Daryl, it's right from us. But it's not right from a lot of people that are getting information from, in quotes, gurus, right? That my car is worth more than their house. Okay. And no. It's a very sad truth. Like the other guy that I told you before, he 150,000 British pounds, man. Come on. And zero success, right? When that guy in the finance market was making, almost, $500,000, every single year in what he did. And so, but no success into, all these courses and a lot of the things that he purchased. And I think, what is your opinion on that, man? Because I think a lot of people have to really sit down and they have to analyze. They're like, okay, I want to make money, right? But how much money? And what do I want the money for? Do I want a house that's $1 million? Right? Do I want to buy the new Range Rover? Do I want a Ferrari? Do I have kids that I have to put through school, through university? What are my monthly costs? And then analyzing all those things, they have to look at their business, right? Or the business that they own or the business that they want to get into, right? And see what is the true potential of that business. And if so, how fast can they actually get to X mark? Now, what do you think about that? And, let me say one more thing, right? And going into businesses, because this ties up with what you were talking about before, with service companies and about hiring more people and putting the trust in that team, right? So if you're, for me, if, I was doing videos on my own, okay? There's only so many videos that I could actually draw. Right. So right now we said it's 140 people working for the Doodle video brand alone because I own, several other video production companies and other companies in general. But for the Doodle video brand alone, right now I have the highest quality product on the global marketplace, highest conversions, fastest turnaround, best price, up to 90% cheaper than my competitors. My styles are anywhere from $1,000, $2,500 to $5,000 a minute, while there's other people selling a lesser quality product. I'm not going to say who. But I know it's a lesser quality, both in visuals and in conversions, because I know people who have bought both from me and them. Mine converted higher, right? Both times. And so I'm doing this, and I can do 7,500 minutes of video a month, where if sold at just $1,000 a minute, that's $7.5 million.
Right.
All right. The profit margins are there because, 2 years ago, I realized that, I want to have the top video production company in the world. That was my goal. And the way that I had envisioned it is I want to be the GoDaddy.com of video production. Okay? So what did I do, though? Check this out. I could have kept on going, kept on making videos, taking all the money for myself, right, and making a pretty good, in quotes, relatively good income of, $5,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 a month, right? But then I'd have to keep trading my time for money, right, and making an income, which is good, but not great. Right. So what did I do? I went out and I literally, my business cannot be duplicated because I've exclusively hired the best talent I could find on a global marketplace. They exclusively work for me. And in order for them to work for me, I exclusively paid them a very big, hefty fee at the beginning of every month. Okay, so how hard, Daryl, do you think it was for me, right? To start paying all these guys tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars every single month before I even had the clientele for it. And I still had to find a marketing budget for it. I had to grow the business. I had to make everything convert, and I had to start doing that all on my own, right? But the business right now is thriving, right? When every single every who's who of, marketing and business are coming down and being, what do you guys recommend?
Right.
You know what I mean? But the sacrifice was there, and I didn't go in. Dude, so far in 7 years in business, I have yet to promote a single person as an affiliate. I've never done that. I've never, I could have done all these extra things to make money, but I never did them. I decided on what it was that I want, and just like I said before, I didn't compromise on the dream. I didn't look for the quick money, and right now I do have it. It's a reality, the world's biggest. Well, it's the world's biggest whiteboard video production, and I'm pretty sure it's one of the biggest, and next year it probably will become the biggest, video production industry on the planet.
That's awesome, man. Big congrats to that. No, and it's not an easy thing, and it is a lot of sacrifice, and it is steadfast concentration and focus on what you want. I mean, that's a quote. I forget who said it, but they're like, you can have anything you want in life as long as you're willing to sacrifice everything else for it. And that's true, and it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I mean, because in some ways you're right. There's things that, like relationships, low-hanging fruit that you could have got if you were willing to, scratch somebody's back and promote his stuff. But at the same time, you wouldn't be where you are now. And that kind of comes back to goal setting and people really figuring out what it is that they want in their life. And oftentimes people get halfway down that road and they decide this isn't what I want. And part of it's because they're in it for the wrong reasons. And the other part is maybe they just don't have that stick-to-itness that you need. And you asked my opinion about the courses and all that stuff. To speak to that, it's tough to say because for a lot of people, I mean, you do better when you know better, but there's a lot of people that they get into the cycle of learning, and they never implement. And I have a theory on learning myself where I personally believe, I mean, I'm an info junkie. I love to read and that, but something that I really try to apply is that I do a two-step model in my learning. So in essence, like, right now, traditional education, you go to university, you go to school, you study for 4 years, and then when you get out, you're supposed to then get your experience and apply it. But for a lot of people, when they get out, what they've learned is already obsolete, which means people are like, yeah, and they just say it like jokingly, like, yeah, I paid for a degree, but now I have to relearn everything. But like, I would be viscerally upset with that, like, because you're wasting my time. I value my time. I would be so pissed off if I did that because I'm like, I just spent my money and my time and it's obsolete. And so like if you're lost and you're trying to get directions somewhere and you ask someone and they go, hey, you just have to turn around, go straight at the third light, take a right, and then it's your second left. You're like, okay, cool, thanks. You don't need to like recite it 7 times. You don't need to like do cue cards. You know what I mean? You don't need to have a study group about it. You had a problem. You got the answer. It fit in like a puzzle piece. You moved on. And I really feel that way about education. And so when you're talking about the info products and that, it sounds like this guy tried to think, I don't know, he tried to do like this big, deep, I don't know what he was doing, this deep dive. But I really think that info products and education, of course, it was really helpful. Mentorship, huge. But, if I have the plans to a 12-story building, and you're trying to build from level 3 to level 4, everything I have above level 5 is irrelevant to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just non-existent. You just need to know that I've been to level 12. Like, if your goals only get the 5th floor, then that's fine. Then you only need to worry about make sure that I got the plans to floor 5, right? But if you want to build a 12-story building, then you just need to know that I can take you all the way. And that's where some people get mixed up, is because they take a piece from this person, piece from that person, and you do what you can to move forward. But I think you can attest to this when the numbers start getting bigger. If you're building a building that's got a little bit of a lean to it, if you're only building 2-3 floors, that's not a big deal. But if you're building 12 floors, that little lean becomes a big problem. And it's
that little lean can cost you, 6 or 7 figures very, very easily.
Oh yeah, and it's tilted everything off. And then now you have to go back to the foundation and fix the foundation. Well, you've got this entire structure on it, and it's so hard. So I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, some people are clueless, and what Jim Rohn has a quote that says, if you've got someone that's going in the wrong direction, they don't need motivation because now all you have is a motivated idiot, which is what they need. What they need is an education to turn them around and point them in the right direction. And so it's a catch-22, I think. And I don't know if there's ultimately one. I think we prize education and knowledge, and I'm a big advocate for that. But at the same time, you need to take action. You need to implement. And oftentimes, you need to learn the answer for what's right in front of you. You don't need to learn I mean, I had a client, he was asking about, hey, he wants to do a subscription program. And he was asking me about a course. Like, is there a course I can do? And I was like, here, I've got a great course for you. It's called the Black Lamborghini Test. Let's take everyone who's got a subscription program that you would like to model, and let's put them all on a table. And now let's take a look at these guys and let's eliminate anyone who couldn't realistically walk onto a car lot and buy a black Lamborghini and afford the payments. And that'll get rid of 99% of your competitors. And then the people who are left, look at what they're doing and model them. Call them up and ask them a question. Do you know what I mean? And that's
I love that, man. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Black Lamborghini test. I'm going to be utilizing that. I'm going to steal it from you.
It's all good.
But also like what do you think about this, man? Because like here's the thing, right? So I'm in Greece right now. I mean, like one of my companies in Cyprus, the other one's in the United States. So I've lived in 7 countries, traveled to another 14, right? So I've done my my fair share of traveling and experiencing. But I mean, here in Europe, there's a lot of millionaires and billionaires in Europe are different, right? A millionaire here, a guy who has money, is going to be driving a Porsche, with 2 of his bodyguards driving additional Porsches behind him, right? Because like some of these marketing guys who claim they make a lot of money and they have, some shitty yacht that costs, 80,000 euros, they're a joke, right? I'm just going to leave it at that. But at the end of the day, like, here's the thing, right? So like I came into the internet marketing space about 2 years ago. And I believe that there are some people that are so genius in this space that I believe like I'm actually, we're talking about these guys and they're starting to change their mentality from product launches going into a little bit into the startup world and the corporate world, because these guys, man, they're so smart at what they do that if they went to work for one of the brands, okay, or one of the big franchises, they would make so much money for these guys. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Okay, because these people, like right now, they're not the marketing teams of, I'm not going to mention names, but a lot of the big companies, they're not where they need to be.
No.
Okay, not by a long shot, but I will say this, okay? I also remember 2 years ago coming into the internet marketing space, okay? There's genius people, amazing people, yes, but putting that aside, it's filled with people who are garbage. They're like the garbage I threw out earlier today with my girlfriends. Okay, they're worth nothing. Their opinions are worth nothing. They don't have morals. They don't have a lot of things. But here's the thing, and here's the bad thing. Okay, so I remember this specifically as coming into the space as someone who was making money in a different area. Right, with wealthy people. I remember that everybody was talking about launches, product launches, 7 figures, 10 figures, right? But honest to God, Daryl, I had yet to meet a person in the internet marketing space up until about 7-8 months ago, okay, that had ever, in a course, not, meeting them personally, but through a course, explaining to people, okay, the fact that you can make a company, right? Here is the structure that company would need to have, and when that company makes X money, let's say $10 million, right, in revenues, that company can go for an IPO. Or here's things you can do, and then you can sell that company. Right? So a lot of people, I believe, in the internet marketing space are getting people into creating, lists. Okay, send these guys here, get subscribers, sell them a bunch of crap, right? Or create a product, and then, 5 or 10 years down the line, okay, yeah, some people make good money with that, but are they still not trading their time for money, Daryl?
Yeah. I get where you're going with that. Yep.
Do you see what I'm saying? So I really, so that ties into, what I said before about people, selecting and being very, clear about, what do they really want to do? Because for me, I create a company. Yes, I'm going to spend, 2-3 years on that company. I'm going to throw a lot of money at it. I'm going to spend a lot of my personal time at it, right? If I enjoy it. But then what do I want? Do I want to work for that company until I'm 90? No, I don't. I want to sell it for a lot of money and then move on to something else. You know what I mean? And based on your experience, because I know your experience, especially in the marketing space and in the internet market, farly exceeds, my own. So what, do you believe that people are getting, how should I phrase this? Do you believe they're getting the right information or a fair shot at doing all these real business activities, from all the information that they're receiving, especially when getting into IM?
Yeah, that is a wonderful question. And I think I've got a good answer for that in the sense of, I think there's three types of products out there. There's tactical products, there's strategic products, and then there's principle and value-based products. And I think that when people buy a tactical product, and the perfect example, and I'm just going to say it unfortunately, but the practical one is there's a ton of people doing courses on how to market on Facebook right now in the internet marketing space. And that's great, but I mean, when I was working for John Asraf, we took a budget of $500 and scaled that to spending $4,500 per day, generating a good solid 6 figures a week. And but one thing I can tell you is that all things were changing all the time. And so a tactical course like how to market on Facebook, it expires. Like, it has a timeline on it. You know what I mean? Like, there's things it'll disappear very quickly. Now, what you mentioned, I loved, because you said you hadn't seen anyone that showed how to make a company. And then once you make the company, how do you, right? Like, once you get to here's how you do an IPO, or here's how you plan your exit strategy. Those are principle-based things. And unless there's some sort of change in legislator and the law, unless there's some sort of bill that's passed, for the most part, that will probably remain the same, right? So that what I liked, because it was more principle based. It was more strategic and principle. And this is something Dan Kennedy said a long time ago, where he said the principles never change, the strategies sometimes but rarely change, and the tactics frequently change. And I think that what you're talking about really, really articulates people that teach like a tactic. Here's like a 3-step tactic to do like some sort of campaign to build a list and make a product and sell it to them, and it works. But then once, it's like people that were teaching, basically keyword stuffing back in the SEO days. So I think you're right. I think there's a lot more to building a company than just how to market. And I forget where I read this, but actually, no, it was Charlie Munger. Charles Munger was Warren Buffett's right-hand man forever. He was talking about that management is just as important as marketing. And people always say that nothing happens until the sale is made, which is true. But if you want to build a real company, like you mentioned, that you can do an IPO with or sell as an asset, then the management of the people and the processes and all that is equally as important. Now, as far as in sequence, the marketing kind of does come first, because, right, nothing happens until the sale is made. But it's hard to separate them. It's an ecosystem, and you need all of them. And so, to speak to what you're saying, how I feel about it, I think that there are people who are getting, because here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with an information product. Information marketers are often looking for a lifestyle. They want to get out of trading dollars for hours, and a lot of them still end up doing it. You're right, and that's where I get hired to bring in, is because that's basically the skill set that I end up working. I end up working with a lot of people who have products that they're selling, but they're stuck trading dollars for hours, and they want to have more stable, recurring product sales, like a more stable revenue base. So they're not doing that, and that's kind of the little niche that I'm kind of carving out. But again, as far as the info product itself, that I think depends on the market and what they're making. Because I mean, there's Dale Carnegie's got a book, how to win friends and influence people, and they do events and seminars and training on that. And that is that's carried on forever, because that's principle based. Right? These are the principles of how to interact with humans. And until we evolve, then that's a good quality product for teaching how to do that. But there's so many people that get caught up in tactical stuff. I remember I bought something, it was like, I forget what it was, but it was like it was like how to have a never ending budget on Facebook. And I thought the guy was going to talk about some sort of like loss leader campaign, something like that. And no, you know what it was? It was like going on Fiverr.com and buying this deal where for $5 you get like a $50 Facebook coupon, and then you open up a new Facebook account and you upload your coupon, and now you got $50 to spend. And if you just do this 10 times over, and you know what I mean? And I'm like, that to me, like that, I'm sorry, bud, but that was, that was junk. That, I want my.
But that goes back to, I totally stuttered there. That was funny. So no, but like, I feel so strongly about this, Daryl, because it's like, in my opinion, the person, I don't know who made that, but the person is like a buffoon.
Yeah.
He has no place on the market. But because look at this, right? Yes, you can save, you can create a different account and, get $50, which is not bad.
Yeah,
because I don't know about you,
build a business on that. Like, how am I going to build a business on having to open up anyway, sorry. Keep going.
No, definitely. But like, this is the thing, right? What is the opportunity cost in this, right? What are you losing in order to take the time, right? Or even waste the resource of someone opening up a different Facebook account, right? And it's not just opportunity cost in terms of time and other deals that you can be closing, right? But I think in this specific scenario, it's an opportunity cost of losing, months or even years of having the right focus and the right shift to focus on the right things that you need to be doing instead of trying to constantly save, $50 measly dollars.
Right.
And it goes back, man, because it's like, okay, in order, so some person creates a product, right, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to teach you how to create, this amazing, how to do this amazing marketing campaign and get all these sales from like a coaching thing, right?
Sure.
So I have a really big business. I deal with the world's biggest stars. You have an amazing experience in what you do, right? You've worked with the biggest and the best, right? But a lot of these people, right, who are, they're picking up a course for like, okay, make this webinar, do this landing page, right? And, get these coaching clients and charge them, $2,000 to $5,000 to $10,000, right? When they have, but, they're finding, and it's not their fault because they're seeing this course. They're like, yes, I want to make money.
Right.
But okay, like, am I really like? There is no understanding. There's no emphasis in. Okay, what should I really know in order to be properly qualified to help this person that is paying me money, achieve their goals? Or they don't understand, right? They start getting swamped with clients. They don't understand how to scale that business.
Right.
Because me and you can go in, and instead of having 10 clients, we can have 500 coaching clients that are high ticket. Right, by structuring the business differently, or like, how do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I feel like we need to help provide some guidance though, and people to navigate through that.
Yeah, definitely, and I think people should start being more ethically responsible in that sense, right? I'm teaching you X, but I'm also giving you an overview, and I'm giving you some extra guidance as to where exactly this piece of information fits into the whole puzzle.
Yeah, and that's where I think the mentorship part is huge, and being able to access people, because that's exactly it. I mean, you can know something, but then when you go to apply it, then there's always a stumbling block of how do I implement this and what are the next steps? Which comes back to like even the question I was asking you. I mean, if having grown and managed the growth and how do you hire people, I think that hopefully that people really take action and understand that you're going to make mistakes regardless, and that you just need to keep moving forward. Now, speaking of keep moving forward, what are you doing now? What are you excited about? What are you working on these days?
Okay, so right now, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, managing multiple business entities. So obviously Doodle Video, I have a coaching program that's $100,000 plus equity, where I take, clients if they qualify, and it's a very big qualification process, and I actually guarantee to turn their company into a brand and turn that brand into one of the top three brands in their entire marketplace within 12 months. And that's guaranteed, and something nobody else on the marketplace that I know of is actually doing right now.
Right.
So that's pretty much it. We also, we buy and sell companies as well. So if some people are making good money and they want, to sell out, or they want to do an IPO, they can also get to me. And it's mainly these three things, a couple of more things, a couple of launches, software and products here and there. But my main focus is on, the $100,000 thing, and, to create them the number one company, one of the top three guaranteed in their marketplace in the next 12 months.
Right.
And, of course, Doodle videos.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's awesome. So how do people find out more? How do people get in touch?
Okay, so if people want to find out more, they can, if they want to get in touch with me personally, they can always find me on Facebook, Konstantinos Kaloulis. Should I spell that out? Because this is the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So, it's Konstantinos Kaloulis, guys. It's Konstantinos. That's my first name. It's pretty long, I know. And last name is Kaloulis, Kaloulis. So they can find me on Facebook. You guys can visit my website, www.doodle-video.com. And what other information do people usually give out on this on these podcasts?
I think that's basically it, man. Honestly, I think if they go to Doodle which is like the minus, doodlevideo.com.
The minus.
Not the minus, but the dash, just so people know the symbol.
Yeah.
Doodlevideo.com, or again, if they look you up on Facebook. I mean, because now that's the beautiful thing I love about technology today in the world, is that you can reach out and find anyone. In fact, that's actually how I got a lot of my mentors. I would just look them up, and it was even Facebook. I'd just be like, hey, I know you make $1 bazillion $100 a year, but I have a question. How did you, and I would just, be smart. It's like anybody, right? When you reach out to them, if you're going to reach out to Cristiano, please do me a favor. Don't just message him out and ask for free help. Please, ask him out. You can ask him a question if you want to give him feedback on something you see him doing. Try to provide value in people's lives. That's the best way to start any relationship, of course, is by being interested versus interesting. And just trying to reach out to people and make sure that. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a big. Somebody said that to me. They said, Daryl, they said that to me. I was in a mastermind meeting. And they were like, you are like an expert at being interested versus interesting. And I don't know. I guess that's true, but I don't really talk about myself that much. And even the podcast. This isn't just me, and it's not the Daryl show. I really do try to bring people on here that I think are quality and that I've spoken to on more than one occasion. Because I hate that when you get on a podcast and listen, and the person hasn't vetted the person at all. They have no idea, and I think it's important that people get access to good quality information, and that's it. I just want to help pull it out. And so same thing, I just want to be of value to the world, because I know if I help enough people, then I'll be all right, and I'll never be without work, and I'll never have, you know what I mean? There'll never be any cold, lonely nights, so to speak, because you'll be surrounded by good people who value and appreciate you because you help them out and help connect them to what they need in order they can move their lives forward. So thank you. I really appreciate your time today, and it's always a pleasure to.
Daryl, can I? Sorry to interrupt you, man, but
Sure.
You just the way you said that, that last piece really motivated me. And for everybody listening, we connected with Daryl. Daryl is a great guy. I feel like you're a new brother, a new addition to the family, man. So I'm very, very happy that we connected. But just on what you were saying about being interested versus interesting. I'm going to share something that, so when I was younger, some things happened, and I had my freedom taken away from me. And I ended up being in a very, not so happy place, deep into the Czech Republic wilderness in the forest that I couldn't leave, right? So that was when I was younger, when I was around 16. And there's, a lot of people say, Daryl, that, people do not value their health until they lose it, right?
Right.
So another thing that I believe that people don't value a lot is their freedom and what that really means. And, because a lot of people, how many times has it happened to you, Daryl, where you're going to talk to someone and they're going to, come on the phone or something and be like, yeah, I'm bored. And you're like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm just here watching television in my cozy house, eating pizza, or doing this, but I'm really kind of bored today, right? And they're complaining about it. Has that ever happened to you?
Right. Yes.
So, but they don't realize that being bored, right, even with all the luxuries that they may have, right, they have a roof over their head, they have food next to them, a television that they can watch, right, being bored is a privilege, and it's amazing, right, because you have that freedom to be bored. And, going back to, just meeting people, I believe once when everybody starts feeling grateful about the things that they currently do have, and they start to gain that, deeper level of appreciation, we're all, I'm sure it's happened to you, it's happened to me, right? Where, sometimes when we're getting all excited about things and we're rushing, doing a million deals at a time, or doing this or doing that, I believe that it happens to all of us, where we might stop seeing people as people and start seeing, a new person, Bob, right, as a number versus a person. Right? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah. Well, again, I remember just some of the clients I've left. You're sending out an email or you're doing some sort of promotion to their audience, and they've got, 1 million fans on Facebook, or 300,000 emails are being sent out. And I know exactly. And you have to constantly remember that, no, those aren't 300,000 emails. Those are 300,000 people. And that's that's part of my marketing approach. I'm a database marketer, so I'm really big on segmenting and trying to deliver personalized messages, because trying to treat people like people versus the old broadcast, format of marketing of, one channel and you have to listen to me and hit them over the head until they buy. I'm just not. It's not my style.
Yeah, and so I mean, the same way that you said, reaching out to people, if I see this person as an individual, if I sit down and it's not about pretending to care, it's when you have that appreciation, I believe that you, Daryl, you actually care. You go deep and you feel the other person. You deeply desire to know, it's not, my girlfriend right now, she's in university, and she's taking a course in academic English, and she came back to me one day, and I thought this was really funny. And she explained to me, she's like, hey, are people from England like this? Because the teacher told them, she's like, when you meet someone, you say, how do you do? And then that other person doesn't really say how they are. They just like reply back. They're like, how do you do? You know? And it sounds so robotic and I don't know, it just sounds very weird and very fake.
Yeah,
You know? How do you do, Daryl?
When I was in Japan, they called us the "Hi, how are you" culture. When I was in Japan, because we're all like, "Hi, how are you?" Like when you're checking out, "Hi, how are you?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm fine," and it's just this pleasantry that we do, and that's something that you see. And that's probably a really good thing. Anyone that's listening to this call, if they haven't traveled at all, you really need to travel. I think you need to experience another culture, learn another language, because the world is about people and dealing with people and understanding people, and especially if you're in business, it's going to be hard for you to succeed if you don't understand the people who are your customers, who are your employees, who are your vendors. And I think that course that I mentioned, the Dale Carnegie How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's a great book, a wonderful course. And if it's something that honestly I try to read once a year, just because it's just such an important part of life and of business. So
definitely. And going back to like another thing, because it does involve business, right? A lot of people, I even had some guy a couple of months ago tell me I close better than Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. And I don't know if I do, but I do know that I have a really high conversions on my deals, around 70 to 80%, right? And that's uncommon. And I bet you do too. And it's, I've added something new into my business, and tell me if you've thought about this, Dirk, because I think it applies for us, and I think it's a good thing to think about for everyone. I've changed my schedule, and right now I have about 3 phone calls that I will accept on a given day versus maybe 20 or 30 phone calls that I was doing, a couple of months back. Mm-hmm. And so I think we talked about this as well together. And, what I've noticed during the 3 phone calls is that a big, huge majority of big deals, immense deals that I couldn't even imagine, a year ago are arising because we're actually taking the real time necessary to connect and care and analyze every single business deal and connect with every single person on that deeper level. And, so it's not just that people are going to, I think, get on a podcast with you or, promote your product if you pretend to care. But if you really care, there's a big difference between closing 5% of your calls and closing an 80% of your calls, right?
Yeah.
And so being a good person pays off.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Mm-hmm. It really does. All right. So thank you. Again, thank you for everyone listening. Appreciate you guys, of course. And thank you so much, Konstantino, for joining us on the call today and sharing. We might have you back. You and I, we could talk for hours and hours and hours. We have so much stuff to go on about. And I love and value your opinions. So once again, if anyone wants to reach out, you can find them on Facebook or just check out doodle-video.com. And thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Daryl. Once again, it was a real pleasure and a privilege getting on this podcast call with you. Thanks to all the listeners for bearing with us. How long has it been? An hour and a half?
Yeah, no. Well, we've been talking for we've been talking for a while, but the interview's only been about an hour. So.
Okay, great. So guys, thanks for listening, and hope everybody loves this podcast.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better. And your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast. And if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.